Bashiva and her Tiger Warriors arrive in Total War Warhammer 3, bringing a fresh element to the Cathay roster. Here's the new units in this DLC and what they're good for. First up, Bhashiva, the White Tiger herself. She's got some pretty solid stats for a Lord, big weapon strength with armor piercing and a bonus versus infantry. She's not super tough with only 60 armor, but 50 melee defense is reasonable, and she has a 20% physical resistance. Overall, more of a damage dealer though, mostly on the infantry. Stick her in the crowds, she'll go to work with that bonus versus infantry, fire and magic attacks as well. But with that big weapon strength, she could do okay taking on other single entities, lords and heroes. Now to the abilities, you can pause the video if you want to read these properly. Hidden Huntress, mostly there for the melee defense reduction, going to be great for doing some extra damage on whatever she's fighting, plus only a 60-second cooldown, so it can be used fairly often. And then by far her coolest ability, Heaven's Gate. This is a teleport, so she can get out of trouble or into trouble, and she'll do some damage when she arrives. So she could get after lords and heroes, she can bypass walls in sieges, a lot of cool uses. She also has a damage boost for herself, which inflicts flammable, which will make her do some more damage with her fire attacks or any other unit she teams up with. There's also Ferocious Ambush, which is on all of these Tiger units, boosts up their charge bonus, makes that do more damage, increases speed, and adds Devastating Flanker. That applies when they're charging. So they're going to want to try and flank and hit things in the back as much as possible. Master of the Hunt reveals nearby units. White Tiger, a buff for nearby allies, so she's got a lot of useful abilities. Vanguard deployment, Stalk as well, so she's sneaky. Probably her biggest downside is that she is a foot lord, she doesn't have any mount options, but with 52 speed, she's pretty quick and she has that teleport to get out of trouble, so she should be able to look after herself. All in all, a highly mobile infantry killer. And a new generic lord option, the Tiger Warrior Sawe. This is an anti-large lord option with armor piercing damage, decent weapon strength, good combat stats, more melee defense than melee attack, so a little more on the defensive side, but with only 40 armor, he's not going to be super tough. Does have that Ferocious Ambush though, so maybe looking for those rear attacks, getting that Devastating Flanker, he could be extra dangerous. For abilities, he's got Guiding Strike, a melee attack boost, which also reduces enemy damage. He's got a damage boost ability that he can apply to Tiger Warrior units, and Fight Fire with Fire, which is an interesting one. Basically, when he gets attacked by fire, he gets flaming attacks himself, and all this other stuff as well. So 40% less damage from any fire damage units, which is pretty nice, but otherwise a pretty niche ability. He also brings this little debuff to nearby enemy units when he's fighting in melee. So for the most part, your anti-large lord option with some nice support abilities as well, but the main reason you'll want to bring him is because of how heckin' cool he looks. Onto the heroes now, first up with the Clawspeaker. These are your caster tiger option. There's one of life, of shadows, and of beasts, so bringing some new lords to Cathay. For the most part, they are caster heroes. They're not great in melee, only 20 armor and 40 melee defense. They're gonna be a bit vulnerable. Pretty tame caster weapon strength as well. And like all these tiger units, no mount options, but that quick foot speed should help him stay alive. For abilities, this one has a heal that can give 20% of health back, but only to Tiger Warrior units. The Beast's caster can give unyielding assault to units, the Shadow caster can give magical attacks I think, and some other different abilities, so different casters will bring you different abilities. Got an explosion here as well that could get him out of trouble. So overall, caster heroes, but with some nice support abilities. And then a new legendary hero for Cathay, Taoyan the Merciless. Now you may notice she is not a tiger, she's not part of the DLC, but she is free LC alongside it. Now overall, she's kinda similar to the Tiger Warrior Lord, being armor piercing and anti-large, good stats though, decent armor, magical attacks as well, good melee defense. Does have that charge defense and charge reflection like the Tiger Warrior Lord as well, so gonna be best to stand them still if something large charges at them. But also like the Tiger Warrior, she doesn't have a mount option, so she is gonna be stuck on foot. With only 34 speed, she is gonna be a little bit vulnerable. She's pretty dangerous though with Ultimate Verdict, a big melee defense reduction, causes terror and will execute enemies once they hit 20% health. Tyrant's Talon, which is a big damage boost for her, also inflicts Brutal Wounds, which is essentially a bleed, damage over time, plus some melee defense reduction. She also has Fueled by Vengeance, a damage and damage resistance buff, which increases the more damage she takes. So a very dangerous anti-large hero that will get more dangerous as the battle goes on, a strong single entity killer. Now onto the infantry itself, first up with Tiger Warriors, the Dual Axe Infantry. These cats have some big damage output, 54 weapon strength plus a bonus versus infantry, good melee attack, lacking in the defenses though, only 30 armor and 30 melee defense, they are a little bit fragile. And of course they have Ferocious Ambush, so they're going to be good on the charge, preferably a rear charge to make use of Devastating Flanker, could make them team up well with Jade Warriors. In campaign though, of course, you can buff them up to High Heaven, so they can get quite versatile. And then there's the Tiger Warrior Stalkers. These ones a little more sneaky. They've got Stalk, they've got Vanguard deployment, and a ranged attack. which is armor piercing and has a bonus versus infantry, but they don't have a lot of ammo at only 2. So a bit of a peltast vibe, they can throw that ranged attack before they charge into melee, do have armor piercing on their melee attacks, so pretty nasty, a bit more melee defense than the previous version. There is a lack of armor at only 15, but they do have a physical resistance, so it kind of evens out. Still not going to be super tough though, but with their Stalk and Vanguard deployment plus Ferocious Ambush, they are pretty damn good on those flanking attacks. And lastly, possibly a contender for the new coolest looking unit in the game, the Iron Claw Tiger Warriors. These are an elite tier 4 unit, and this is your anti-large Tiger Warrior option. Got armor piercing damage as well, charge reflection, charge defense, so stand them still when large things come at them. They can still charge infantry pretty damn well though, with a 35 charge bonus plus 40 melee attack, so they'll do well against infantry too. If you can get them on the flank though, with devastating flanker plus that anti-large bonus and everything, get them into some cavalry, some monstrous infantry, they'll murder them. Plus, all these Tiger units are pretty quick at 44 speed, so they're bringing a lot to the Cathay roster, and these Iron Claw Warriors are the new best infantry for Cathay. Now, I played a campaign through with these units, and I have to say they are pretty huge for the Cathay roster. One of Cathay's biggest problems as an army has always been that their frontline infantry is kind of lackluster. Largely, that's down to a lack of damage-dealing killing power, so as you can imagine, the Tiger Warriors fill that hole pretty damn well. Now, they might not necessarily be a great frontline option, but if you put Jade Warriors up front, let them absorb the charges, and then send in Tiger Warriors to support them, they can be very useful that way and be the damage dealer that the Jade Warriors aren't. Because in my experience of playing with these units, I came to find that the Tiger Warriors, while they are very powerful, they don't take charges too well from stronger units. If they get charged, they eat a lot of that damage because of their low armor. Against factions with less damage dealing infantry like Empire, Vampires, or Skaven, well then they could be a frontline against those kind of factions, but you just might want to be a bit more careful if there is more dangerous infantry up front on the enemy. So you got to be a little bit careful with them getting charged in the face. Ideally, if you can get some Jade Warriors, let them be the front line, let them be the anvil, and then flank those Tiger Warriors around to be the hammer. And of course, those Stalkers with Vanguard deployment and Stalk, they could be pretty good for sneaking up and doing that. And with Devastating Flanker, once they hit the enemy, they'll absolutely shred them. It's also bringing a bit more armor piercing to the Cathay infantry. It should also allow Cathay to play a little bit more aggressively if they want to. Typically, Cathay can be a little bit one-dimensional, just sitting back with missiles and artillery and letting that do all your damage while your infantry just slows the enemy down. Well, now you can come out with a Tiger Warrior frontline, some cavalry, some flanking units, maybe a little bit of ranged, and just execute those more aggressive game plans. So all in all, these units are adding quite nicely to the Cathay roster, buffing it up quite significantly, and Bashiva herself is a pretty nice legendary lord with some unique abilities. That teleport especially is very cool, very different. Overall, a nice start to these character pack DLCs. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, do check out the Patreon or YouTube memberships if you wish. Otherwise, I will see you in the future.